Hello, Northside students. For today's lesson, we're going to talk about personal boundaries and how we can set healthy boundaries with the people in our lives. Before we can create boundaries, we have to first know what they are. Personal boundaries are guidelines, limits, or rules that we set for ourselves in different types of relationships and situations. They are based on your own personal values and are essential to your health, well-being, and safety. There are different types of boundaries that can range from being extremely flexible to rigid. Most people have a mix of these types, with a majority of healthy boundaries falling somewhere in between flexible and rigid. Everyone has limits, and boundaries are a way to communicate those limits to others. Setting boundaries for yourself and others can have many benefits in your life. For one, it can improve self-esteem. Knowing your values and having healthy communication with others can increase your sense of self and improve your relationships. Boundaries also allow you to have more agency and control over things going on in your life. When healthy boundaries are set, you can conserve some of your emotional energy and feel more at peace with yourself. There are many types of boundaries, and they usually fall within one of the four main categories. These categories include emotional, intellectual, physical, and material. Emotional boundaries deal with a person's feelings. Healthy emotional boundaries include such things as when to share and when not to share information that may be more personal in nature and can be violated when others invalidate your feelings. Intellectual boundaries refer to setting limits on when to express thoughts and ideas. These type of boundaries can show respect to others whose thoughts may differ from your own and also includes having an awareness of appropriate times to discuss certain topics. Physical boundaries are how we define our personal space, and material boundaries usually involve money and possessions and dictate how we share those items with others. When creating your own boundaries, a good place to start is with defining your own limits and values. Listed below are a few questions you can ask yourself to help get you started. You want to think about your own personal rights and values, what things you have strict limits on, and what has room for compromise. It can be helpful to think about past situations where you felt your boundaries were violated, and what exactly happened and what you would have done to change it. You also want to listen to your emotions and focus on areas that cause you a lot of distress or resentment. Make sure your boundaries show respect for yourself and others, and be calm and assertive when communicating them. Creating boundaries requires a lot of give and take. Some days you will give more than you take, and vice versa. For these situations and relationships, you may have to look beyond what is currently happening and consider the longer view, but be sure to not always be the one who is doing all the giving or all the taking. Here's a quick 3-step guide you can use when setting your own personal boundaries. You want to create, state, and maintain. Decide what your boundaries are, clearly communicate them with others, and continue to express their importance in your life. To respect others' boundaries, a good place to start is to remember the golden rule. Just as we want people to respect the boundaries we set, we also need to be willing to do the same and show respect for others' boundaries. To do this, listen fully to what the other person is saying without interruption and appropriately communicate your personal thoughts. Don't close yourself off to conversation. This can show you are willing to understand and accept their limits. Boundary violation occurs anytime someone crosses a boundary you have set and can be categorized into aggressive, passive-aggressive, and accidental violations. Not all violations are meant to intentionally cause harm. There could possibly be some confusion or miscommunication surrounding a boundary you have set. Some questions you can ask yourself to help clear up those boundaries and reduce the number of violations include: who is it that keeps violating your boundary? Is this person willing to change? Can your boundary be more flexible? And are you truly being clear and consistent with your boundary? Unfortunately, there may be people who continually violate your boundaries and disrespect you, even after you've done all you can to control the situation. If this is the case, it may be beneficial to re-examine the relationship. And know that if you ever have a concern about your safety, please let another trusted person know. If you don't know who you can talk to, the guidance department here at Northside is always here to help you. Now take a minute to go through the examples and think about how you would set a healthy boundary in each situation.